crazy right now. Look at Chicago. Venezuelan immigrants taking over Chicago West Side, O Block. What's going on, Chicago? What y'all need up? You need some real ones to come out there and assist you. It's looking like it, for sure. Hey man, come on, let's stand up. Let's go help Chicago out. And we be next.
After this election, Black America will never be the same. Those free thinkers in Black America have found out that there's a lot of Black people who are against free thoughts. We will never be the same. Those Black people who have always been no justice, no peace. Those Black people who have always been against mass incarceration and police brutality and all of that, we will never be the same because we have discovered that there are Black people who will vote for that crap. We will never be the same. We will never be the same because we are watching our communities being taken over by people who are not from this country, and they are getting houses and cars and food, and we will never be the same considering what we've been dealing with in those very same neighborhoods all this time. We will never be the same. We will never be the same as we watch our government put people on pedestals that just walk into this country and give them sanctuary cities where they can not only commit crimes but get out the next day. We will never be the same. We will never be the same because we have watched Black people turn against other Black people simply because they wouldn't vote for the people they wanted them to vote for. We have discovered that the Dixiecrats have not changed, and therefore we will never be the same. There will be no unity. The division will be thick as a line down a street in a sanctuary city where somebody is driving right now with no license and getting away with it while we are driving while Black. We will never be the same. We will never recover.
In regarding the immigration crisis here, the migrant crisis, I do want to know from you what position, I think maybe politically, should Black Americans have regarding this issue. We see how they usher these migrants into our neighborhoods, and it appears to be a new form of like social engineering that we're seeing.
Oh,
you know what I mean? What position
it is social engineering. It is ethnic cleansing. It is residential genocide. When President Biden first announced his candidacy, during his candidacy, or maybe right after he got elected, he said he wanted to fast track 4 to 8 million undocumented immigrants to American citizenship. Why was he so concerned about fast tracking illegal immigrants into American citizenship his first year of office? You know why? He knew he wasn't going to serve the interests of Black America. He knew it. So in order for the Democratic Party not to take a big hit on election day at the polls, he wanted to fast track all these undocumented and oftentimes anti-African immigrants to citizenship to reduce the Democratic Party's dependency on the Negro vote this coming November. That's why Chicago's being flooded. That's why New York City's being flooded. In fact, my brother, I don't think I've been to a Black community this year who does not have a migrant issue. It may not be as prominent as New York and Chicago, but everywhere I've been, they have a burgeoning population of migrants. And their job is not only to replace you at the voting booth. That's the most immediate need. The Democrats need these migrants to be registered to vote. And what's ironic about that, most of them are not even citizens. But the way in which the policies are written and the way in which election day is so poorly supervised, because American the American electoral process is a very what do you call it? It has been completely, what's the word? Not fraudulent. What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't
When
know.
something is it was just on the tip of my tongue.
Well, you know, I would definitely say
it has been
it's not fair.
spoiled. It has been tainted.
Yeah.
Whatever the word is.
Yeah,
that's American electoral politics. Votes get thrown out. People's votes don't count. They shut down the booths early. All kind of fraud. There you go, fraud. The American electoral process is fraudulent. So you're going to have migrants in Chicago voting in November who are not even citizens. You're going to have the same thing in New York. You're going to have the same thing all around the country. The Democratic Party is counting on these migrants to make up the votes that they know they're going to lose from Black people. That's what this is about.
And when it comes down to the Republicans, I would say that they like to have the migrants come here because they like the cheap labor.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That cheap labor undermines American wages. I mean, we see this year after year after year, you know, and, you know, I'm not sure what else can be done. I do know I did a podcast a few months ago, Dr. Umar, about, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but the Office of New Americans. The Office of New Americans is a bill that's bipartisan passed. And basically it's a system set up to basically walk immigrants through the process of becoming established in America. There are a number of states that are officially on board with the program, and then there are some states that are unofficially participating in this program. Ironically, Texas, who we see the governor shipping migrants on buses to all these cities, and we hear them, you know, fighting, closing the border and everything. But guess what? There is an Office of New Americans in El Paso, Texas. A lot of people don't know that it exists. So it's kind of hypocritical when we see, you know, those on the right talk about how do we need to close the borders. They seem to be anti-immigrant, but at the same time, they allow for the Office of New Americans to operate within the, you know, within their state. So I'm not surprised by anything you said. I am totally in, you know, 100% in agreement with that.
This is an ethnic cleansing. And to your point, good brother, as you know, big business runs America. And so a lot of these congresspersons, they have been sponsored. Their elections have been sponsored by a lot of mega corporations who have been threatening the U.S. government to relocate to second and third world countries where they can get labor for $1 a day. So part of the agreement between the government and the mega corporation is we will let the migrants sneak in and let you pay them under the table as a ploy to keep the businesses in America. That's what this is about. Because big business, the mega corps said, if you can't guarantee me low wages, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be paying minimum wage, FMLA leave, mental health leave, Social Security. I'm not paying that when I can go to Vietnam or I can go, you know, to Cambodia somewhere and have children over there slave for me for $1 a day. So you're going to have to, you know, make my pot a little sweeter for me to stay in America. So to your point, the Democrats and the Republicans are both on board, but they cannot let the American people know that because white people would lose their minds. You see that? Buddy. So the propaganda is we got to act like we don't like it. Let's take Donald Trump with the wall that he was supposed to be building. But guess what? That wall that he had built, the migrants and the illegal immigrants, they would just walk around the wall, crawl over the wall.
Same footage.
Videos. There's even videos of Border Patrol helping them cross the wall and come around that. So, you know, this illusion of a option. Black people, America, Black people in particular, because that's our focus, we suffer from this illusion of choice. You know, as if the Democrats and the Republicans truly represent something different. On the migrant issue, they don't. It is all propaganda that's making Americans think they don't want the immigrants in here. If they didn't want them in here, they would not be here. They are here because they want them. They need them for votes. They need them for poor labor, cheap labor. And most of all, They need them for the American dream. And the American dream is an America without Black people. And they're using these migrants to overtake all of the local resources, the homes, the aid, the health care, the homeless shelters. All of the aid that's out there is being monopolized by the migrants while Black people are starving on the streets. We have our highest Black homelessness population since the Dr. King era. You're talking 56 years. We haven't seen this many Black people homeless on the street while they're being overlooked by the government, and the resources that they pay tax dollars for is being given to migrants to do what? Replace them. You know this, in Chicago, they passed the law at the top of this year, the end of last year. The governor signed the act into law where you can be a police officer in Chicago and not even be a U.S. citizen. They passed another law in Illinois that, you know, made it punishable, criminal punishment, if you deny a migrant the opportunity to rent your apartment or buy a house. So, you know, they can't even guarantee Black people that they won't be discriminated against when they rent or buy. And here they are providing these migrants with extra protection, extra help. In New York City, I think they're giving out $1,000 credit cards to the migrants. Now, mind you, this is the same state governments and federal government that said they didn't have enough money to improve the schools in the Black community. They didn't have enough money to create jobs. Look at what they're doing for these people. They're doing everything they need. And here's the sad part. Part of it is our fault. Because we have constantly pushed this colorblind, multicultural, all non-white people are one family rhetoric that made it very easy for them to drop them off in our neighborhood. White people don't talk like that. White people you don't hear white people saying we're all one. No, Black people was pushing that. So we made it easy because we never weaponized our identity as American Africans. We said, hey, we're for everybody. And since you're for everybody, you're going to take everybody into your community. But the migrants are not for everybody. The migrants are for themselves. And see, here's another thing that America has done really well these past 20 years, good brother, is they have done a good job of teaching immigrants, all of them, Asian, Arab, Latin, all of them. They've done a good job letting them know that they do not care about Black people. And if you want to make it in this country, you have to join us in our contempt for Blacks. And that's why every group in America treats Black people the same way white people do, because the government trained them and conditioned them to be that way. So we're not just fighting white supremacy anymore. We're still fighting white supremacy, but we're fighting it in brown face. We're fighting it in yellow face. We're fighting it in white face. We're fighting it in red face. So every other group in America is completely united in opposition against the Black man and woman.
Agreed. I do have to agree. The anti-Black sentiments that we see from all different races,
it's very strong.
It is, and it seems it's gotten worse. Like in the last 4 to 5 years, man, it is crazy, ridiculous, and
we have to be in a crisis mode.
And this crisis is expensive. In 2018, New York City spent roughly $258 million to fund its immigration services, adjusted for inflation. By fiscal year 2023, the city had spent $1.47 billion servicing those seeking asylum. The city of Chicago spent over $194 million on its new arrivals mission since October 2022. Denver is estimated to have spent between $36.3 million to $39.1 million on migrant support services in 2023.